Look, I've gone through the personal finances of a number of people at this point, and while many people get themselves into tight financial situations through purchasing of big ticket items on debt like RVs, boats, cars, that sort of thing, a lot of people actually get themselves into tight financials by small purchases. And those small incremental purchases, they swipe that credit card over and over again, and the next thing you know, they've got 10, 20, 30 grand in credit card debt. When Maddie and I talk about this topic at home, we kind of joke that it's financial death by 1,000 cuts. Today, we want to show you 5 methods that you can use to avoid this terrible fate. All right, so the first thing that we want to avoid is eating out. And eating out is absolutely killing your financial budget one cut at a time. I completely empathize with this struggle as well because Maddie and I had this addiction for the majority of our marriage. When we finally put our house in order, we found out we were spending $500 a month eating out. 500! I mean, that is just an astronomically high number, and it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that I was doing that and engaging that in behavior every single month. Now that I know more about personal finances, when I think back to my old habits, I like to think about the opportunity cost of those habits. And so if Maddie and I had taken those $500 and we had put them into the S&P 500 every single month, we would have $60,000 at this point. That is just such a big number for somebody who's 28 and 26 like Maddie and I are. And that's probably put us back 5 or 6 years on our retirement goals. One of the reasons this was so difficult for us to get rid of is because we like eating nice food, and frankly, we were just being lazy.
I don't want to do it!
In our quest to avoid a 20 or 30-minute chore, we gave up $60,000 towards our retirement, and that's something that's a really tough pill to swallow.
Just because we're not eating out doesn't mean Casey and I can't eat well. Let's illustrate this with one of mine and Casey's favorite restaurants.
A dinner at Texas Roadhouse for our family of 5, which is just a couple of steaks, some loaded mashed potatoes, and a meal for our children to split after tax and tip runs us about $46.25. That's just one meal, no leftovers.
So here's the real question. What can I make that meal for at home? At our local grocery store, we can get a set of sirloin steaks for about $22.50 plus $3 for loaded mashed potatoes if you use a recipe like this one. And then you got to add in tax. We're probably talking about $27. That is only 58% of what we spent eating out at Texas Roadhouse, and it probably is going to have leftovers. Now, if we look at that $27, the question is, what could we do with that money? How many meals could we make if we picked a cheaper recipe with less expensive ingredients? Probably 2 to 4 meals.
One tool that we use that we really love is a website called Budget Bites. And so Budget Bites has this great array of desserts and dinners, and you can search by recipe or amount, and it gives an estimate on the cost, and it's just got a ton of ideas. They give you great options and at the same time show you what a price estimate would be.
If you're like me, the thought to go to the grocery store never strikes so hard and so fast as when my tummy is grumbling.
So hungry.
But see, that is a surefire way to make your grocery budget balloon. Now, the average American family of 5 is expected to spend between $922 and $1,488 a month. We as a family like to stay more on the lower end of that, and we stay between $800 and $900 a month, or roughly around $210 a week. There's now research out there that suggests that someone who shops hungry spends about 60% more on a grocery trip, and even is more likely to buy non-food items. For us, that would be an extra $500 a month. Just doing this one time would absolutely decimate our budget and kill our financial progress. I am never more tempted to buy the party-sized box of double stuffed Oreos and an extra gallon of milk than when I am hungry. But see, just those 2 items, which total about $10, are 5% of my weekly budget alone. They have no nutritional value, and I still have to buy all of the other food that I'm going to use to feed my family for the whole week. The best way that we have found to combat this is to make a plan. Every Saturday, Casey and I sit down, we decide on our meals for the week, and I go shopping. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to cut out all the fun. Add the fun to your list so that it doesn't cut into your financial progress.
So item number 3 is what I'm going to call the great deal fallacy. This is one that I actually find kind of funny, but it's also a little disturbing at the same time that this is so general among the American public. I mean, we've all had this experience. We have gone into a store, we've seen a lot of for sale signs, and we've said, dang, that's an amazing price. And we walk away with a whole bunch of stuff that we weren't intending to buy. And the justification that we always have for this is, well, I saved $100. We didn't save $100. We spent $100 or $200 or $300, whatever the purchase price of the impulse purchases were. We spent that money that we weren't intending to. This whole idea that we saved $100, it's just not sound thinking. So never fear. Maddie and I are not perfect. And we actually have a personal story regarding this. Typically when I'm not at work, I kind of dress like this, where I have a polo, maybe some jeans on, and my wife loves me a lot. I don't know why, but she does. One thing that I found really funny is that Maddie would go to Costco and she would be checking out all the clothes in the clothes section, and she'd look at the polos and be like, dang, that's $10. That's a great price. And she would buy it and she would bring it back to me. And I was like, thank you. And she did this over and over and over again for like a year. I finally kind of just looked at her kind of sheepishly and I was like, Maddie, you know I have plenty of shirts, right? And she was like, yeah, but it was such a great price. So it made me laugh. We had a good laugh about it. It was really constructive. And it was just, one of those moments where that's exactly what we say is, it was a great price. It was a great deal. I saved $20 because a polo shirt would have been $30 at another store, and I have like 10 polos in my closet that I have never worn. Not because I don't want to, but just because I have like 4 shirts and that's all I need. The reality is that if you've lived without an item for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, you probably don't really need it. And it's all just marketing. And in this digital age, everything's marketed to you. And we just got to be stronger than that. And there's a very basic financial principle. Like if you see something that you want and it's under $100, that's considered a small ticket item. You should really probably take like 24 hours before you decide whether you really want that thing. And a lot of times that impulse to buy that thing will fade. And if it doesn't fade, then that's a pretty good sign that you actually want that thing. You can start working that thing into your budget. And then the flip side of that would be greater than $100 would be considered probably a bigger ticket item. We probably want to wait like a week before we purchase those things.
Item number 4, Casey and I are going to call the kid trap. Now I want to be very, very clear. This is not what it sounds like. Casey and I have never and will never feel like having our children as young as we did was a financial mistake. That being said, having adorable little children running around all the time can cause some emotional spending that's maybe not the best for your budget. Let's put it this way. Children's clothing designers know what they're doing. In society, we have gone from dressing children like this to dressing children like this. Even luxury brands have gotten in on the baby clothing game, and they're making expensive couture outfits that will be spit up on just like anything else. Your toddler not only doesn't have to be the most stylish kid on the block, hand-me-downs are an amazing option if you have family and friends to swap with. If hand-me-downs are not an option for you, then buying clothes out of season doesn't hit the budget too hard. One outfit for our 3-year-old daughter can cost upwards of $40 if we buy it in season. However, if we buy out of season in a larger size that she can wear the next year, it can be below $10 for the exact same outfit. Another thing to add, if you have credit card debt or are living paycheck to paycheck, your child does not need more than 3 pairs of shoes. Tennis shoes, sandals, and nice shoes. Any more than that, if you're on the edge of your budget, is a waste.
So item number 5 is personal services. And this is a really important one. I feel like this is a really small one that can give small gains to your financial health. And by personal services, I mean things like getting a haircut, getting your nails done. DoorDash is another big one. And so all of these things are services that we can really probably do ourselves for a pretty minimal learning curve. It will save us, anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks every single time that we need one of those items. And again, a lot of times this just comes down to a little bit of laziness.
I'm feeling lazy.
And then at the end of the month, we're like, oh wait, why do we not meet our budgeting goals? Well, it's because we spent, 30 bucks on a haircut or something like that. And that's one thing that Maddie and I did right at the beginning of our marriage, was the idea to me of spending 20 to 30 bucks on a haircut as a guy just sounded really dumb to me. That's one thing that we did. We went and bought $50 pair of hair clippers. We have the same hair clippers now. I've had them for 7 years, and every 4 to 6 weeks, Maddie gives me a haircut, and it saves us about 20 to 25 bucks. And I'm not saying you can't ever have those things, but when we're trying to hit goals of, hey, let's hit our budgeting goals, let's hit our investing goals, these things completely eat away at your capacity to do that. And again, it always comes back to opportunity cost. I think one thing that's really important is you need to know your opportunity cost of 100 bucks. Whatever age you are, go to an investment calculator, put in 100 bucks and put in 10% for an S&P 500 growth, and the amount of years should be however many years until you're 65. Whatever that number is, that's your opportunity growth. And so you can start applying that thinking every time you buy something. You're just like, okay, if I buy this, this is $3,000, $4,000 less in retirement.
Living with financial stress is a burden nobody wants to deal with, especially when you already have young kids, you're trying to start a career, and marriage is hard enough as it is. These mistakes can just add to cracks in an already firm foundation of your marriage, can cause problems even in the most stable of situations.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like pretty strongly about is we're not, judging people for making these mistakes.
We've made them.
Yeah, we gave personal examples throughout all this. But the whole idea is these are simple ways, simple corrections that can be made that will really help people. And, again, money is one of it's either the first or second thing that people argue about and get divorced about. And, that's just that instability in your life. Who needs it, right? We want to have happier lives. And, these small sacrifices right now really can help propel the family into, a richer, wealthier lifestyle than probably they imagined they could be getting.
If this information was helpful to you and your spouse at all in your financial situation, please hit like and subscribe. Our goal is to help people just like us discover the unity, the goals, and the progress that we have found just over the last few months. We want this progress for you guys just as much as we want it for us. See you next time.